Hello, everyone. Welcome to Manifest. My name is Stephen Grugett, and I'm one of the co-founders of Manifold. Our first talk this afternoon will be a fiery sermon about the power of prediction markets and a tale of the founding of Manifold. Without any further ado, here is my co-founder and brother, James.
Thanks so much, Stephen. Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you all for coming. I'm so excited for this event. Thanks for traveling from around the world and to like hear about prediction markets and forecasting. It's going to be a really fun festival. Okay, so you might not know, but there are three founders for Manifold. There's us two, we are brothers. And then there's Austin, who gave the opening speech back there. And we are all prediction market nerds. We are reading Scott Alexander, this rationalist blogger for a long time. So we're all CS majors. We're all programmers. So that's a little bit about us. Austin and I also worked at Google before, and we've been pursuing startups for a while. And now we're working on Manifold, which I'm proud to say is the largest prediction market site in the world by number of traders, by number of bets, and by number of markets. Yeah, cool. So that's a pretty recent phenomenon because Manifold is not very old. Just 2 years ago, Manifold did not exist, and it was not even thought of yet. And so I wanted to tell you the story of how the three founders came together to start Manifold. And I'll start with that, and then I'll get into some of the ideas behind Manifold and prediction markets generally, and give you the pitch for them and why they are important for the world. Okay, so it is 2 years ago. It is just a random afternoon. It's a Monday. It's a Mantic Monday. In fact, I'm pulling up Scott Alexander's Substack. Okay, he writes this Monday column where it's called Mantic Mondays, where he writes about prediction markets. He gives updates. He gives news. I'm just reading that on the couch, hanging out, and an idea hits me, and I'm like, well, here's a really interesting thought. It's prediction markets are so tricky to judge and so tricky to come up with and resolve. There's a lot of effort that goes into that. What if you turned it into, and this is kind of coming from a crypto standpoint, this decentralization thesis. It's what if you have individual creators? They manage the whole market. They come up with the question, they come up with the criteria, they manage it, and they resolve it. They can get bettors too. As an example, someone could ask the question, will Russia invade the Ukraine? Okay, and so that's a very tricky question because there's a lot of ways in which what does it mean invade, right? And there's you have to take into account the exact definition. But the idea is that if people trust that creator to use their judgment in a reasonable way, then it removes so much friction in terms of coming up with questions. Okay, so the other part was the creator could charge a transaction fee on the bet volume, and so now it's a business. And so the creators can sort of compete to run their own markets. Okay, so I was thinking about this on the couch. Steven comes by. I'm like, hey, I have this great idea, and I explain it to him, and he's like, actually, that is a really good idea. That's better than your normal ideas. Okay. And then he's like, well, that's too bad, though, because we're still working on our startup, so we're just going to have to not think about that, okay? And it was a little bit annoying because it's oh, it's such a cool thing. I wish I could work on it. Okay, that was about 2 years ago. Then, fast forward a couple months, our startup is not doing well. We're not growing at all. And we've done so many pivots that we've can't think of any better ideas to execute on. Our investor is telling us to add crypto, and we're that doesn't make any sense. Okay, yeah, we're actually really upset. We're in despair because this is a 3-year project for Stephen and I, and we just could not think of any way to go forward with it. And it's November 10th, 2021. Our biggest client quits, and we're oh gosh, we have nothing. It's gone. Okay, so. But there is a little bit of hope left. There's a little glimmer because we had this prediction markets idea, and we know Austin Chen, a guy who I met online on Discord. Okay, And we never met in person, but he was so impressive. So I just like messaged him and I said, hey, our biggest client quit. I think we're thinking about like moving on to something else. Why don't you come visit us? We'll buy your flight to come visit us using our like money from our like failing business. And he was like, yeah, let's do it, right? Austin is super open to this kind of thing. I feel like some random person you met online asked you to come visit, like not everyone's gonna do that. Not everyone's gonna do that, but Austin did. So that was November 10th, same day. The next day, November 11th, Scott Alexander, who runs that blog that I was reading, he comes out with this ACX grants competition, and then like we're like, whoa, this is so perfect timing. Austin messages me, he's like, this is the perfect match for the prediction market idea. This is perfect. So like basically, while like we scheduled his flight for after Thanksgiving, so we were just like working online together. We came up with a grant proposal with this idea like on the blockchain with Solana, and like we were just like, this is so awesome. And yeah, we submit it, and then a couple days later, Scott Alexander gets back to us with some questions, a list of questions for us, and we're like, this is good, he's engaged. And I asked him like, yeah, I was basically like, would you use it if we built it? And he's like, yeah, I probably would. And we were just like, that's amazing. We're onto something. Like, this is the most success ever. Okay, so then things start moving really quickly, right? Okay, so Austin flies in December 1st. Turns out we had the final interview for our Y Combinator application for our failing startup, where we were just like, we had no idea what we were going to pitch to them because like that business was dead. And we were like, we had no idea, and Austin just arrives. And so we're like, let's just like use our brand new idea, brand new crypto idea, and like bring Austin in. So he like flies in, we get him into our apartment, throw him on the couch, and then we're doing a video chat with the YC partners, and we're pitching a totally new idea that we just thought of a few weeks ago, and like, and we had no preparation, no demo, and we were just going for it. And then the YC partners just rejected us, which is totally reasonable. And they didn't like the creator run part, and their objection was a little like almost like very funny. Like they're just like, the QAnon people, they're gonna start creating markets. That's gonna be terrible for the world. And I'm like, she's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so we just brushed that off. We brushed that off, and then we're like, this is so good. Scott Alexander wants it, probably. We hadn't won the grant yet, but we're like, he probably wants this. We're gonna build it. So we just like, basically we started stand-up, okay? We started our daily meeting, which we have continued to this day. And we sort of like got this process, and I feel like it was a very like the uniting of us two plus Austin was like this like very special thing, because it suddenly, we joined forces and we just became insanely productive, because Austin had like these practices from like his previous, like some places he worked, and we used like Notion, and we would write down like our daily updates, and we would like, we knew that we needed to do user interviews in order to like validate the idea, and we just like had like all these pieces, and we were like pros at like writing like consumer startup stuff. Like we made products before, and so it was just an absolute blitz where we could just do everything. We knew all the parts of building a business. Okay, so let's see. December 1st, YC interview, we failed that. Okay, about a few days later, or like about a week later, I have a user call with Zvi Mauschwitz. Okay, this was a very challenging call, okay, because we told him our idea, we love this idea, right? And he's just like, that is so bad. Like, what are you guys talking about? Because getting on crypto, that is the worst thing ever, because it is so inaccessible. It is so hard to get a wallet set up on Solana or whatever. It's like, and there's just so many problems, and it's a dark forest where if you do one mistake, they're gonna steal your money, and like, it's like just a very, very bad experience overall. And but the one positive thing he did say was that he would love to create some questions and like have his friends like trade on them, and like I was like, okay, well, there's at least something he likes. But overall, very negative. And then so like that afternoon, we were just like, maybe he's right. Like maybe crypto is very difficult. There's also the legal issues, which are like frankly pretty large. We would have had to go offshore. So basically, like I had another eureka moment, and I was just like, let's just get rid of crypto. Let's get rid of that. Let's try to make the most accessible like prediction market site ever, where you can just like frictionlessly ask a question, just like Twitter. You tweet something, you ask a question, it becomes a market. We put the power of prediction markets in the pocket of everyone, and we'll just like run it with play money, right? Just like we don't need like crypto that's too complicated. Real money, like that's regulated. We'll find another path, right? And so basically, that's December 8th. Total pivot. And then we just like, we're gonna build this because this is actually not that hard now, because learning Solana development, that was gonna be like, that's gonna take a while. So this is much easier. Like a week later, we've got a demo. It's like very bare bones, but it's working. We show it to Nuno Sampere, another like forecasting nerd, and he gave some feedback. One more week later, we have the MVP. It's like, it's ready. It's like, and this was just before Christmas. So, basically the Christmas miracle like arrived because we basically had built a whole business, or no, we hadn't built the business. We built the product yet. Okay, there, I'm getting there. Okay, and then Scott Alexander emailed us and he says, you won the grant. So like we were like, wow, this is amazing. We won the grant. We have the product. So we send him a link to our site. He takes that link and then he writes about it. He publishes it in his Substack article, and he says, oh, these guys are really interesting. They're like the chaotic evil like approach to prediction markets, and we're like, whoa, that is so cool. Like I'm so happy. Yeah, that is great. Because of the way that the creators can sort of just have full control and resolve it however they like. So this is the Christmas miracle, and then he publishes it, and we just get hundreds of users, tons of prediction market nerds. They're all signing up, they're creating markets, they're betting, and we went from having nothing, being in total despair, to having this triumph in just a few weeks. Because of the synthesis of us three together, yeah, we went from 0 to 1. So that is the founding story of Manifold. Cool. All right. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. Okay. The second part of my talk is about some of the ideas behind Manifold, and also just like prediction markets generally and their potential. Okay. So we started with two very risky ideas, right? So this is it's not easy, right? We have the creators were like creating and resolving their markets like with their own judgment, and we have play money, and both of these are kind of like untested. So most people think that like when I tell them about how it works, like how it actually works, where they can just resolve it however they like, they're like, that sounds so sketchy. That's like people can just scam you. Like that's never gonna work. Like your people are putting like they're betting on this, and then they can decide whatever they want. Like that is a crazy idea. Like why are you doing that? Like okay, so they're kind of right. It is a crazy idea, but it actually has a lot going for it when you think about it. And so let's see. So one of the reasons it works is that you can like choose between creators. Like if there's one that's being sketchy, you just don't bet on their markets. So there's like a competition. It's sort of like a free market, like competition between companies. So it's like when you think about it, it seems like it's gonna work. And then like the other point is sort of philosophical. Like I feel like in many domains, when there's some like possible negative, some downside, like there's fraud risk, right? There's like things that could go wrong. People tend to like focus on those. They get like super like that's terrible. It doesn't work. Like if there's downside at all, they're just like, I guess it doesn't work. We just have to give up, right? But that's just not how we should be, because when you like think about things in like from like a utilitarian framework, like those downsides, they're this big. Like sometimes they're bigger, but like you have to measure them against the upsides of allowing like more freedom, basically, allowing more people to create markets on whatever they want, allowing them to resolve it however they want. And so when you add up the like pros and cons, then it's like way in favor of like more freedom, allowing people to create more markets on any topic. And I think that that kind of reasoning applies like very generally. It's like a good rule of thumb, honestly. I feel like because people, human nature is just to like be cautious and to like fear the downside. And so I feel like we make this mistake over and over where we concentrate on the possible negatives. And we shouldn't do that because you just need to add up the utility in just a very straightforward way. And then it's very clear that if you allow more freedom, you allow more opportunity, then like the innovation is just like, it's worth so much because advancing the state of the art in any realm is so good, whether it's like the FDA approving drugs, like experimental drugs, like somebody might die, but like you might be saving thousands of lives by trying it out, right? So it's kind of just worth it. So that freedom is a founding value of Manifold. I think it's like kind of why it's working, right? Okay, let's see. Okay, so early on in Manifold's history, I had a call with Robin Hanson. He probably doesn't remember because it was very brief, okay? He told us that in order to make prediction markets like actually work, what you need to do is find a good use case. Like find some people that need it and then that would use it in a repeatable way so that they could like continue to use it and they would continue to get value from it. And that's how it starts to become a business. That's a really good advice. We didn't follow that at all. What we did instead was try to, instead of figuring out what your problem was and building the product for that, we built a platform where you figure out your problem, you create the question yourself, and basically, so the way it works is a very decentralized, it's using the freedom, and like you can solve your problem by going on our site, creating a question, and sharing it with friends, sharing it with people that want to bet. That is like, in order to make that work, it's not going to work if it's on crypto. It's not going to work if it's like you have to like connect your bank account and you have to like go through 10 steps to like in order to create your first market. Like you have to make it really accessible. So that's like part of our vision is like in order to unlock the value of prediction markets, this really powerful mechanism. You have to make it like easy for people. Like we're building a product, so we're just trying to like package that power of prediction markets and make a self-serve platform for it. Okay, and one of the ways we do that is obviously with Play Money, and Play Money is great because it's like super low friction. You can just sign up. We can give you mana for free. You can start betting within seconds. You can share it with your friends. There's no stigma associated with it. It's not gambling. Like it's not real money gambling at least. Yeah, like we haven't seen like most gambling sites and real prediction markets do have a downside, which is that some people get hooked and like they spend all their life savings. That hasn't happened except for one case, but which we refunded that guy. Okay. Yeah, in general, Play Money is serious. Like I'm serious about it because it does have a lot of advantages, and it's kind of surprising. I'm surprised because I didn't think it was going to work this well. Like I thought it was just going to be like not very accurate. Okay, yeah, okay. So here we have this site. We have all of these crazy questions people are coming up with. Like I don't know what they're coming up with. Like there's some crazy ones for this festival for sure. But there's like personal markets. There's fun like game kind of markets. You know, there's trick questions. There's everything. And they're using Play Money to bet on these. So it's like how can that like work? How is that going to be accurate at all? Are the forecasts from the markets actually doing anything, or are they just like putting money, going back and forth? Like, is there an end result that's are the markets actually like predicting something, right? So we can measure that. There's like a few different ways to check on the accuracy of our markets. Probably the most like straightforward way is called calculating this like Breyer score. Okay, so you can look at a market and you can sort of see what it predicts over time. It's going to give you a percentage, like 80%. Okay, and you compare that once it's resolved to the final outcome, which if it resolves yes, then from 80% to 100% yes, that's like a 20% difference. So it was off by a little bit. So you take that difference, you square it to get the error, and then basically you time average that across all of the points in time. Yep. And then you average it or whatever, and then that's the Brier score. Okay, so you want a low Brier score. So the surprising thing is that when you have our markets on crazy topics, and then you also have a bunch of crazy people that are coming to bet on them, and they're not super forecasters mostly. There are some, but like mostly they're not, right? And that somehow like through the power of prediction markets, it's like a miracle happening every day where that somehow creates like forecasts that are accurate, that are pretty good. Like, and here it is on my shirt. Yeah, you can see our Brier score is 0.17, and that's across everything. That's including all those random markets and those. That's pretty impressive because you can then drill it down into all the different topics, and you can see, oh, AI topics, like that's about 0.14 Brier score. So we're doing a little bit better on those, or science is about the same. Elon Musk is 0.11, so I don't know why those are better. But personal markets are actually much worse. That's 0.19 Brier score, that's a higher. Yeah, but they're all in the same ballpark. It does just seem to work, and it's just like, how could that be? Okay, so how can we explain that? Prediction markets are not just a poll, right? So a poll would be just like you vote what you think is going to happen. Those aren't quite as accurate. Instead, what's unique about prediction markets is they have this form of feedback. So like you make a bet, and then you are either right or you're wrong. And if you're wrong, you're going to lose all your money. And so that is sort of like a hard like limit. It's like it's coming in and it's saying you were wrong. You don't get to like use that mana anymore because you're wrong. So like you're just kind of not going to have as much influence because your judgment's not as good. Okay, so but basically there's a few effects here. There's the natural selection effect where the good forecasters are just like piling up the mana and they continue to have more influence, and the ones who are less good, well, they don't have as much influence anymore. And so you can sort of start to see how play money is going to work in this case, because as long as this currency is scarce, it's still tracking something real, right? And it doesn't matter if it's like actually convertible to real dollars, because it's still measuring something, which is like, are you forecasting correctly or not? Yeah, and because of that, people also start to care about it, and it starts to become like a badge of honor. Like if you are able to make profit, especially if it's like in important markets, then that's something that you want to tell the world, and you're going to be careful now, like because it starts to feel valuable to you because other people care about it. Then you're going to try harder. And the play money is not so much like a joke anymore. It's like, maybe this is something important, right? So people start caring, and we were surprised at that too, how much people care about play money. Another thing to talk about is sort of like why play money markets versus like, there's like other approaches to forecasting. There's basically there's like forecasters. It's almost like there's a professional thing now where forecasters can like take these questions and they give their prediction as a percentage. And then you can calculate Brier scores for them as well, as they can update their prediction. And that's like a really good way of doing forecasting, and there's like a good track record of that. There's like Metaculus does it this way, and the Good Judgment Project has been able to identify like very talented super forecasters that can get really low Brier scores. About that would be about 0.14 is like their best, so we're pretty close. And when you narrow down to our better markets, it's even lower. Okay, but so this alternative approach is like very interesting. It's just like handpicking a few super forecasters, getting their input. So why should we do markets with play money instead of that? And basically, like markets can react very quickly. Is one answer. Is like when something happens in the world, like the super forecaster might be asleep, he might be like doing something, and but there's probably somebody in the world who like on Manifold who just was tuned into that event, and they quickly made a bet because they knew that something had happened, and so that provides a signal immediately, which is super useful. But there's a deeper reason, I think, why markets are better, and it sort of has to do with like like super forecasters take a question and then they internalize the entire question. They think of everything that's possible, and then they give you one number. So they have to take in the whole problem and solve it all in one go. With markets, that's not the case. If you have just one like clever idea, one like little strategy that you think could like update the markets in the correct direction, you can make a profit by applying your clever strategy, even though you have no idea about most of the problem, right? So, but what you are doing in effect is contributing your knowledge along this one narrow slice. And when enough people are doing that with thousands of people, then no one understands the market movement. No one has the whole problem in their head where they're like, clearly this is happening for this reason, blah, blah, blah. Like, because everyone is just thinking in their own little strategies that are like one by one, like making a little bit of profit, and collectively they're coming up with this forecast that is like even better. So I think that the future for like the best forecast will always be with markets. So I believe in markets. Okay, play money is also fun. That's another reason for play money. Like, people love to get on and gamble with it. And that's kind of like part of our original vision, is that people would go on and find questions that interest them and contribute their knowledge because it's fun. So we want to work on that. But there's another argument here. If there's like, people would say, okay, what if you have this really challenging question? It requires a lot of like in-depth like research maybe. Like, are people going to like, are they going to be motivated by play money to like do that research and bet? And that's a pretty good point. I would say there's a few responses. One is like, eventually it'll be important enough, our play money, that they would do that. I think we're maybe not quite there. We're getting there, right? But another response is that when people get on Manifold, they're experts in something. Usually they know something about like a specific topic, and that's, for them, that's their hobby, to like trade on that topic. They have like deep expertise. And so part of what Manifold does, especially with play money right now, is the more people we get on the site, the more people come in and they only bet on like a few markets that they're experts on, and then they like correct those prices. And so there's kind of hope for the larger Manifold gets, the more people come onto our site, people will be matched from their expertise to the questions that they have relevant, that they can weigh in on, and that's very helpful. And that's something that works with play money without having to like actually pay them. So prediction markets are fundamentally different than just having these super forecasters that just like come up with their answers. It's fundamentally different from having experts, having like professors, having someone who's an anointed, credentialed expert that just says, here's the answer. Instead, it's a crowdsource method. It's just a different thing, and it's only possible through like technology, and it's a recent invention. We have people here in the room to thank for the like popularizing and improving prediction market mechanisms. So we're standing on the shoulders of giants. And even in crypto, the Uniswap, AMM, the automated market maker that we are using, is like a recent invention which we have used for ourselves. So basically, prediction markets are this new type of knowledge. Okay. One interesting thing is that there's still questions. Like, for example, there's the room temperature superconductor question, which was like, will that paper replicate by that Korean team? And we saw like a ton of activity. It went viral on Twitter, and basically there's some criticism which might be fair, which is like, didn't those markets get a little too high? Like, wasn't it up to like 40% that it was going to replicate? Isn't that a little suspicious? And so I think that there are a few cases where prediction markets are not like completely like 100% perfect yet. But I would say that this kind of like hype is something that it's kind of like, because the prediction markets are new and our site is new, like I actually think people are learning from it. So imagine that this happens again next year, right? Like people will remember, the old people, they'll be like, oh, like I should have bet no on LK99 last year. Maybe I'll do it this year and I'll make a profit. And I actually just think that there will be progress in forecasting and in like betting on prediction markets. And so there's like many reasons to be bullish, why even like the few cases where maybe they were a little bit wrong, that those will be worked out and we will sort of do better in the future. Okay, so basically, Manifold is like pretty new. We're on this like great trajectory. As it starts to scale up, there's a few things that I'm excited about. Okay, I really want to see like news organizations embedding prediction markets in when they're talking about something that's topical, that's new. I think that prediction markets are a really good source of information on developing news, especially, and I think that would just be a better world, right? And I think that we're sort of just like at the very beginning of this. Like people are just starting to figure out that maybe this could be helpful to people, and I think that when I think about it, it's like very obvious, and I think they're gonna just start using them, right? So we have like in news, we have in science. I think like the prediction markets are not good for everything. There's some niche questions where only a few people in the world have any expertise. Maybe that's a little bit challenging, but for like key questions in a field, like I think a lot of it can be encoded into prediction markets that many people could bet on, and that would just sort of transmit this information to like broadcast this like public like information about what the state of the field is. Like here now you have a quantified like measure. I was like, oh, this is like 80% probably going to happen. We're pretty confident in like that the field is going in this direction. So I think that there's plenty of use cases for science. I hope that our self-serve platform can serve scientists. In government, it's kind of obvious. It's like instead of like voting, some problems are better solved with prediction markets. Some problems just match up with that very well. And there's a lot of ideas in like from futarchy, and like there's a lot of like really interesting like possibilities. I'm hopeful that I think government moves a little slowly, but I think at some point they will, like city governments and like maybe nationally, like to determine policy. I think that prediction markets will work their way in. Private companies is a challenging case. We have tried a few trials with companies. It hasn't gone super well. I think that like when a typical pattern in a company is that there's only a few decision makers that have all the context. It's not super relevant to get everyone else to bet on it because they're missing pieces of information. I think that there are probably some questions that are better suited for companies where either like more people have relevant expertise. Maybe it's a bigger company. Maybe they're trying to like get information out of a bunch of employees. I think that there's a path though. I think I'm excited to try to find a path for play money prediction markets for companies. And then yeah, there's schools, there's children. I think that there's an interesting thought, which is like, so I believe in freedom, right? So what if children could use mana to transact, to spend their time and effort for mana that has nothing to do with working? It just has to do with them like being able to have the freedom to like delve into a task and do it well. And I feel like this is a very good way to learn. I think that prediction markets like it can sort of get some of these ambitious kids and they can already start influencing the world. And I think that it would be good for that. And then finally, there's these like society scale problems like AI, like climate change. And I think that prediction markets will be key at sort of surfacing like important information, informing the public. Like what are the timelines? Like when is AI going to do this? When is it going to be this relevant? I think that like prediction markets have a lot to do there. I'm really excited, and I hope that it can help out somehow with AI safety. Okay, so as a closing note, I want to say that I feel like we have like walked in and discovered this like totally new like method for determining knowledge, and it's like super important. And we not only have like thought of it, but we built the product, and we've seen the track record. We've seen that it's working. And so to me, that is so exciting because I feel like we have discovered this like holy grail of prediction markets because no longer are we blocked by regulation. We're not blocked by like anything. Like we just basically have it already, and it's working. We have the site, it's growing, and there's so many possible use cases. And I just think that something that like I would ask of you is like just think about it for yourself. Like, does it seem like a good idea? Is it working? And like, what do you think about the evidence? And I think that we should all sort of like take it upon ourselves to reflect on that and then get fired up if you think that it is working. Because I actually just think that this is something very important for the world. And yeah, we should personally be advocates for prediction markets. Go out and like tell people the good news. Like prediction markets. They freaking work, right? Yeah, you should get your shirt like this. And then, yeah, so basically that's it. Prediction markets will save the world. Thank you. Yeah.
I think we have time for a couple questions.
Can I use Meta to buy that shirt?
Yes, you'll be able to buy this T-shirt. There's 20 copies at the night market on Sunday. Yeah. Question?
Wonderful question.
Have you compared certain markets that are tracked with money, like predicted for politics, with your markets to see if there's any more accuracy in your real currency?
Yeah, that's a super good question. So in the midterm markets in 2022, we actually compared the accuracy, and ours were better. However, I don't think it's like enough of a track record to really make a determination because that predicted seemed to be more favored towards Republicans, and our site was a little bit towards Democrats. And when the Democrats won, then like basically ours were more accurate. That could be a coincidence, right? So we don't quite have a long enough track record to make that case. Yeah.
You mentioned Virus Score a couple times.
Yeah.
Log Score.
I think this one is more popularly used. Yeah, we could look at that one too. It would probably give similar results. Yeah. Mm.
There was something you said that was interesting. Is if you have some complex problem, and I know something about like some small aspect of that problem, then I can make a strategy that just I guess depends on that and make some money that way. Can you give some example of how that would work?
Yeah, I mean the simplest one is just like trading between markets, like where like if this market says this and that says that, and you can come up with more complex theories there. To give like a concrete example, I don't know, maybe you have some like insider knowledge that like this company's going to release a product by this date, and that would affect their like stock price. Probably there's an example that's not like illegal, but yeah. Okay, yeah.
What would be cool to do is to analyze various biases that you see in the markets and then publicize them, and then probably traders will read that and then improve over time.
Oh yeah, I really love that idea.
Status quo bias is a big thing.
Yeah, so his suggestion is that if we can sort of find these cases where the markets are incorrect, where they're like there's biases involved, and publish that, then suddenly people will notice that and just trade that away, so they can make the profit and it will return the markets to being accurate. Yeah.
To give you a bit of a hard time, so this was the idea that you don't need to know everything to make a profit, but then we were talking about the experiments with the companies, and all of a sudden it's like only a few people have the full
Yeah.
context, and
Yeah.
there's a tension
Yeah.
there. Do you think
There
that
is.
there's some what's going on? Like, do you have any ideas or theories? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think markets work best on a larger scale. So in small companies, there's sort of like fewer opportunities for people to come up with that unique strategy. I don't know. I think there's other problems that maybe they are accurate within companies. It's just the problem is that management ends up shutting them down. So it could be that they're actually working, and then that sort of like takes away some control from management, and I think that's a serious issue because like if management doesn't want it, then maybe they're right. Like maybe they're like, that's demoralizing to know that our feature is not shipping on time. We don't want people to know that. So I don't know. We have to think about it, and I have the sense that the mechanism is very powerful. So we just need to find a way to use it correctly that doesn't step on management's toes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So when you're making product decisions at Manifold, if you ever have such that trade-off between like, this will make the site more accurate, but it will also make it less fun.
Yeah.
Where are you willing to sacrifice which of those?
That's a really good question. I feel like we haven't had to make that many trade-offs because, and here's why, because typically, like the prediction market mechanism is so powerful. I think the way to make it better is literally just to get more people. So the more fun we make it, then the more people trade, and then the more accurate it gets. So almost by default, we don't have to make that kind of trade-off. I would say we care a lot about the accuracy. So yeah, in general, we're not gonna just like do things to make it like less accurate. But yeah, in the back, yeah. You in the white shirt, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Have you thought about allowing people to buy mana?
Oh yeah, yeah. So there's an interesting story here where it was part of the original vision. When I thought of that play money, it was on the same day where I talked to Zvi. It was like, oh, this is we can make it a real business with play money. We can sell the play money for real dollars. And basically, I sent an email to Scott in the meantime, and I was like, hey, we have a change in our vision. Here's what we're going to do. And he's like, what are you talking about? What on earth is play money backed by real dollars? That doesn't sound like a good thing to me. And then we were like, oh wait, actually we take that back. We won't do that. But we were serious because we thought that maybe he's right, and we didn't know. And so we actually didn't add real money until it was like mid-January, and we actually created a market to decide this for us. We created a question. It was like, if we added real money, it was something like would we have like more users or less users or something, or like and basically we just got like a lot of people that came in and posted comments saying, hey, this is fine with me, and like it was hard to find anyone who was objecting. So I think that it turned out fine. It sounds kind of like a little like capitalist scheming, right? But I think, I mean, like I do believe in for-profit companies, and like our organization couldn't exist. Like it would be much more difficult. Like we couldn't raise VC money. Like it actually is just like a process. If we're producing like a product that's valuable, then it's useful to take in some revenue, because then we can exist. Then we can scale up. Then we can hire people, right? So I think it's worth it. And I think it's a good idea. Yeah, frankly. Okay.
How come that doesn't subject you to more regulation? Because my understanding is the whole reason they use play money was to escape regulation, but if you can sell the play money for real money, that seems like a pretty obvious loophole.
Yeah, so his question is, doesn't that get us into trouble with regulation if people can buy our currency with real dollars? So there's basically, the answer is there's a lot of precedent for this. There's every like virtual game, like they let you buy their currency with real dollars, and then as long as you cannot do anything outside of that, as long as you can't use that currency in the real world, then you're good. And I think that is generally true. So yeah, no problems. Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say the same thing. Speaking of disagreements you've had with Robin Hanson, who is, I think, always advocated that play money is no good. It needs to be real money. That's the whole.
Yeah.
That's how you get the whole power of it.
Yeah.
And that's actually my view of why I'm so excited about Manifold, is because I think you've hit upon this way of making it sufficiently close to real money. The fact that you can buy it, you can use it to pay people for bounties or to subsidize markets that you care about. You can cash it out as charity. We're just tomorrow we'll be announcing a feature to transfer mana to B-miners currency. So all these things are ways that, as a user of Manifold, I feel like to me, mana is money, and, and that's why it's powerful. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. Mana is powerful as like the closer it is to a real currency. Yeah, are you in there?
Do you have thoughts in general on the future of automated forecasting and how that fits into Manifold?
Yeah, I mean, I think that fits in super well with markets where people can come up with any strategy. They can use AI. They can program bots, and they can make our markets more accurate. And so I'm very bullish on that. I think there's been some attempts. Some people created a GPT-4 bot that was reading the questions, and then it was betting. And I think it was very primitive. They just rigged it up in a few days. So it wasn't profitable. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. But I think that something should be there. And by having all of the questions on our site, we have an API. You can read them. You can react to bets. That I think that at some point, some people are going to figure out some good ways, and that will just make our site more accurate. Yeah.
I would love to see a hackathon for this.
Yeah.
Or us to do a little hedge fund,
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. I love it.
I'm hosting
Oh, yeah.
a workshop tomorrow morning on building a trading bot that will include a trading competition, so you should all come to that.
Yeah, if you're interested, go to his workshop. What time is it?
10.
10 a.m. Saturday?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Steven's workshop. Cool. Yeah.
Well, in retrospect, do you regret not doing the crypto version?
No, I don't actually. I think we made the right choice. I think Polymarket is an example of a crypto prediction market, and they're doing fine. And if we went into that field, it would be we would just be competing, and I feel like the market is actually, in my opinion, it's much smaller. Like, I think that Manifold can sort of scale up to be this like Reddit level where it's just like on every hobby, like because we basically avoid regulation. I think it's just so much better. I'm happier. I feel like we don't have to deal with like sketchy gambling problems, and yeah, I think it's just like I couldn't have like thought of like this is like the best therapy idea I could have thought of. I feel like I don't know. Yeah. Okay, Robin Hanson. Yeah.
As a social scientist or human scientist, when people say, why do people do things, we have a whole bunch of motivations. And when they say fun,
Yep.
you go, come on, like, tell me more. It's kind of a label that blocks the further exploration. So you're saying, well, the reason your customers are doing this is because it's fun. And I go, okay, but like, can we drill farther into that? Like, there's lots of kinds of fun. What kind of fun exactly do your customers most get from your product?
Oh, that's a really good question. So Robin Hanson asks if typically fun is hiding other kinds of reasons, like that they are really the reasons they're really doing are not for fun; it's for something else. So I would say it's sort of like I mean, when you're playing a game that you're doing well at, and like you want to like master it, and you want to so you're learning, I think, like you're learning how to forecast. I feel like our site is a sort of a tutorial for people that have never, they've never traded before. They've never like thought about forecasting, and they're getting on our site, and then they're being measured, and so they're feeling like they're getting good feedback because they're like, I bet on that, and it wasn't a good bet, and now I learned something, right? And then I would say there's definitely like reputation, like. You're moving up, you're getting higher status if you're getting higher profit because you can brag about it to your friends, and I think occasionally there's some element of usefulness, which is good when you create markets on a topic that it was relevant to you that you wanted to answer for. Then you're getting a forecast, you're getting your answer, so that's good. We added bounty questions, so you can place a bounty with mana for any task. And that's super exciting. So we're branching out. That's like another feature. But yeah, I hope that answered your question.
I think we'll have one more question.
Okay.
Do you know what the buyer scores might look like for questions from non-users? Because to me, it seems evident that Manifold users are good at answering the questions that Manifold users are good.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the one thing that comes to mind. So there's the Good Judgment Project and the Super Forecasters, which are really good, and they're getting 0.14 about. If you look at Metaculous, I feel like they're actually the best right now. I think on their website, I think it said something like 0.08, which is that would be insanely good. I think that's possible. And some of their questions are the same as our questions. Some of them are different. So we have some room for improvement. I'm excited to go head to head with them. We're gonna compete, and we'll see who wins. Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, let's
All right.
give James a big round.